May we have everyone's attention? We will now call the Mexico City Council meeting for January 25th, 2021 to order.
Miller?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Hay?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Okay, at this time, we're going to amend our agenda slightly and give it to Mr. Slagle to introduce Noble Health.
Yes, Council, this evening we are fortunate to have with us representatives from Noble Health. I'm going to kind of do this in just a little reverse order here. Steve Parks, President of Hospital Management, is with us this evening. Tom Carter, President, Noble Health. And then Don Peterson, Chair of Noble Health. And the reason I saved Don for last is he and I are probably the only two Cubs fans in the room.
That's correct. Is that a ball?
Relations right there.
But as chairman, Don's going to do a little introduction and with Noble Health taking over our local hospital.
Great, thank you very much. You want me to go up here?
Please.
Madam Mayor, Bruce, thank you, council members. It's really a privilege to be here. We will be closing, hopefully, on the completed acquisition of the hospital here by sometime in March. We hope sooner, maybe. We are delighted to be in this community. I can tell you, since we signed the letter of intent back in July, the community has welcomed us with open arms, have been incredibly supportive. We know that there's a big job ahead of us in terms of this hospital, and we hope that support continues. We'll do whatever we have to continue to garner your support of both the leaders in this community as well as all of its citizens. Noble is unique in that we are a rural-only health system. We only own and operate hospitals in the rural markets. Our thesis is to own first and manage second, so that we always have substantial skin in the game in any community in which we go. There are a lot of management companies out there that manage first and maybe never own, and when things go poorly, they tend to hand the keys back to the owner and say, well, thank you very much, that didn't work out, sorry, I'm out of here. That can't happen with us because we have a sizable mortgage on the properties that we own, and we have to make this work. So we are committed to this community, we are committed to this hospital, and we're committed to each and every one of you, and I hope that in exchange you will bring you and your family to our doctors, to our hospital, and that we can count on your support as we make every effort we can to revitalize this facility, restore the service lines that we know are essential. First and foremost of which, we're going to start delivering babies just as quickly as we can, because we know that that's key to our commitment to this community, even though we all know, well, we don't all know, but labor and delivery does not make us a lot of money, but we think it's essential to do that, and we're going to restore that as quickly as we can. With Mr. Leonardi's help, we have we signed an MOU with the OB doctor here. I hope he doesn't mess that up, but it's all looking positive. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, but we are delighted and feel privileged to be here, and thank you.
Like I said on the elevator, we're delighted that you're here.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
Looking
that.
forward.
Okay, well, with that said, I'll let you get back to your agenda, and thank you for the time and the consideration to have us talk tonight. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, first order of business, second order of business, we're ready for a presentation. Mr. Slagle?
Yes, this evening we have Williams Keepers with us, our audit firm, and Roger, you're going to do the first introductions and setup? Okay.
Well, each year, the City of Mexico does hire an independent audit firm to look through the financials and check internal controls, then also assist the city with preparing the comprehensive annual financial report, which is this right here. The audit team from Williams Keepers has completed their audit and has assisted the city in the development of the CAFR. And we do have with us tonight 3 of that audit team: Amanda Schultz, a CPA and lead partner on governmental audits, Kristen Brown, and Mercedes Kendall. Amanda is going to come up and speak to the public and the council, give an overview of the audit, and also give a high-level overview of the financial report. And without further ado, Amanda, come on up.
Right, thank you, Roger. I think you covered our first slide for us, so just a little bit of information about the audit team. Before we get really into the audit report, this slide here that talks about our government team provides a little more information. Obviously, there's only 3 of us here tonight, but we do have a government niche team at our firm that is 8 to 10 members strong, consisting of partners, supervisors, seniors, and staff. Our team serves many governmental clients, including cities, such as the City of Mexico, counties, and special purpose governments. We do attend specific training on governmental accounting and auditing, and we have specialized tools and resources and programs that help us to provide a variety of services to our governmental clients. We also have specialized memberships with the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, including their Government Audit Quality Center, as well as with the Government Finance Officers Association and the Missouri Society of CPAs, for which I also serve as a board member. Let's get into the audit reports. I think you guys have a copy of the CAFR in front of you. We issued 2 reports as a result of our audit of the city's financial statements as of and for the year ended September 30th, 2020. Both of these reports were issued in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. The first is the opinion on the financial statements, which I'll be covering, and the second is the communication to the mayor and the city council, which Kristen will be covering at the end of our presentation. We did not issue a report in accordance with generally accepted governmental auditing standards this year, as the city did not expend more than $750,000 in federal awards during the year. So a single audit was not required, and those additional reports were not issued this year. The city issued a comprehensive annual financial report, or a CAFR, again this year. A CAFR contains substantially more information than that required by U.S. Generally Accepted Accounting Principles, or GAAP, and it is a sign of excellence in financial reporting. In addition to the financial section, which is the GAAP requirement, the CAFR also contains an introductory section and a statistical section, both of which are additional GFOA requirements. The CAFR is submitted to the GFOA for review and approval each year, and as a result of that review, the city has received the GFOA's Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for 31 consecutive years. And a copy of the certificate that the city received for the fiscal year 2019 CAFR is included on this slide, and it's also included in this year's CAFR as well. As I mentioned on the previous slide, the financial section of the CAFR is the GAAP requirement, and as a result is really the focus of our audit, so it'll be the focus of our presentation tonight as well. The financial section of the CAFR includes the following components that are listed on this slide, most of which we'll be going over in more detail on the following slides. The first section is the Independent Auditor's Report, which can be found on pages 1 and 2 of the CAFR. It identifies the financial statements that we audited, the time frame, which again was as of and for the year ended September 30th, 2020, and the entity, which is just the City of Mexico. There are no component units included in these financial statements. It also clearly identifies management's responsibility separately from our responsibility as the city's independent auditors. Likely the most important part of the Independent Auditor's Report is the opinion section. Our opinions on the financial statements are listed at the top of the second page. We issued an unmodified or a clean opinion on the financial statements again this year. This is the best opinion that the city can get, and it means that the users of the city's financial statements can rely on them. So the financial statements as well as the notes that support them. Finally, that opinion letter refers to required supplementary information, which for the city includes an MD&A, a management's discussion and analysis, which we'll talk about next, budgetary comparison schedules, information on the modified approach to infrastructure, and pension plan schedules. We do not provide an opinion on any of that information, so our opinion letter states that. There's also other information, some supplementary information on which we do issue and in relation to opinion on, and that was unmodified or a clean opinion as well this year. And then there is also the introductory section and the stat section on which we do not give opinions. So that letter kind of lays out what we do and do not opine on, but all of the information that we opine on was deemed to be clean. The management's discussion and analysis is on pages 3 through 14 of the CAFR. Roger and Vicki do a really nice job of writing this section from the city's perspective. It compares the current year to the prior year. The financial statements themselves are not comparative. They just show current year information, but this section of the report does provide some comparative information. And it provides a high-level overview of financial highlights and the financial statements, as well as provides a financial analysis and includes commentary on economic and other factors impacting the city. So getting into the actual statements, and I promise to keep this very high level, the government-wide statements are found on pages 15 and 16 of the CAFR. They are split between governmental activities, which are supported by taxes, grants, and other sources, and are used to provide core services to the city's residents, and business-type activities, which are supported by charges for services and are used to provide utility services to the city's residents. Both of these statements use full accrual accounting, so everything that the city has to account for, all of its funds, all of its assets, including capital assets, and all of its liabilities, including long-term debt, are reported in these statements. The statement of net position, or the balance sheet, is on page 15. We have a table, I'm sure it's a little hard to read, but that summarizes the balance sheet for fiscal year 20 and includes 3 years of comparative information. At a high level, total assets decreased by about $795,000, or only less than 1%, due to the elimination of debt service reserve funds on former sewer system revenue bonds that were refinanced during 2020. Total liabilities decreased $1.4 million, or 14%, due to that bond refinancing. Next is the government-wide statement of activities, or income statement, that can be found on page 16 of the CAFR. Just at a high level, again with this summarized information, total capital grants and contributions increased $280,000, or 26%, due to several ongoing and a few new grants during the year. Total general revenue increased $514,000, or 4%, due to increases in sales and property taxes, as well as those increases in capital grants and contributions. Total expenses increased $1.3 million, or 12%, primarily due to governmental type expenses, not business type expenses, which are attributed to increased capital outlay related to certain projects. So again, although the financial statements themselves aren't comparative, there's a lot more information regarding the current year compared to prior years in the MD&A, that management's discussion and analysis, on pages 3 through 14. So I'd encourage you to check that out for more details. The governmental funds statements are on pages 17 through 20 of the CAFR. They are modified accrual basis, so they only show the near or short-term assets and liabilities in those statements. The balance sheet on page 17 reports total fund balances for the city's governmental funds of $8.7 million. Of that amount, $4.7 million is unassigned, meaning that it's in a spendable form and it's not restricted or committed or assigned for any specific purposes. The income statement is on page 19. At a high level, total revenues were fairly consistent with the prior fiscal year, but total expenditures did increase by about $1.2 million, or 15%, primarily related to capital outlay for various projects. The net change in fund balances, or the net income or loss for each fund, is still positive in total for the city's governmental funds, but it did decrease from $1.5 million last year to $621,000 this year. The proprietary funds statements are on pages 21 through 23 of the CAFR. These are full accrual basis statements, so everything is reported in them. The statement of net position, or the balance sheet, is on page 21. Just a high-level summary, total assets decreased $1 million or 4%, primarily due to that bond refinancing that I mentioned previously. Total deferred outflows of resources increased $92,000 or 482% due to GASB 68. This is really a balance that is carried on the city's books as related to the loggers pension plan, and its amounts reported by their actuary. Total liabilities decreased $1.3 million or 14%, again due to the bond refinancing that's been mentioned a few times. Total deferred inflows of resources decreased $98,000 or 77%, again due to GASB 68 balances that the city is carrying related to the loggers pension plan. The total net position, or the total equity of those proprietary funds, was about $13.7 million at the end of fiscal year 2020, and of that amount, about $3.8 million is unrestricted. The income statement for the proprietary funds is found on page 22. Total operating revenues and total operating expenses were stable, and there was a continued positive change in net position with an increase compared to the prior fiscal year. So $510,000 of an increase in net position at September 30th, 2020, compared to $504,000 at the end of the previous year. The statement of cash flows for the proprietary funds is found on page 23. There is an overall decrease in cash and cash equivalents of about $557,000, primarily due to purchases of capital assets and payments on long-term debt. The footnotes, or the notes to the financial statements, can be found on pages 24 through 45 of the CAFR. Overall, they're fairly consistent with the prior year. There were no new accounting policies that the city implemented in the current year. Kristen will discuss a few new accounting policies that will impact the city in the next few years when we get to the following slide. But the key notes are listed here, and they are consistent with prior years. Note 5, dealing with the city's capital assets for both its governmental and proprietary funds, are found on pages 32 through 33. Note 6 on long-term debt, which does describe the bond refinancing that occurred during the year, is found on pages 34 through 36. Note 9, commitments and contingencies, is on page 38, and a lengthy footnote on the pension plan is note 12 on pages 39 to 42. And with that, I'll turn it over to Kristen to discuss the Auditor's Communication letter.
Good evening, everyone. Like Amanda stated, I will be discussing the Auditor's Communication letter tonight. So this letter describes our responsibility under generally accepted auditing standards. This letter includes the plan, scope, and timing of the audit. So this information was previously communicated to the mayor, as well as just general discussions with Bruce, Roger, and Vicki throughout the year, or when we were planning for the audit. The next portion of the letter describes significant audit findings. So we noted no changes in accounting policies of the city during the year. Like Amanda mentioned, this letter includes some various details about upcoming GASB standards. So the first being GASB 84, which will potentially impact the city in the next fiscal year. So it is management's responsibility to assess the impact of these standards, but we're willing to discuss and happy to assist in how to implement these standards in the coming years. The next portion of this letter describes significant estimates that are included in the financial statements, those being the allowance for uncollectible receivable balances, the useful lives of capital assets, the fair value of contributions, the post-closure liability related to the landfill, and the net pension asset and related deferred outflows and inflows of resources related to the loggers pension plan that Amanda has already mentioned. We do note that the financial statement disclosures are neutral, consistent, and clear, and all key disclosures, those being capital assets, debt, and commitments and contingencies, are included. We had no difficulties in working with any personnel. Roger and Vicki and all of their staff are always great to work with and provide us information that we request on a very timely basis. We also noted no misstatements during the course of our audit, but we did assist management with posting entries related to GASB 68 or that logger's pension plan, as the information is not available until audit fieldwork. Again, we had no disagreements or difficulties in working with management. This next portion of the letter includes information related to internal control. So we consider internal control over financial reporting as a basis for designing our audit procedures, but we do not issue an opinion on internal control. So our consideration includes procedures to evaluate the design of the controls as well as determine whether the controls have been implemented, but we do not include tests of effectiveness of these internal controls. So again, we do not issue an opinion on internal control, but we would report certain deficiencies if they were identified, and those deficiencies are listed here. But I'm happy to report we did not identify any material weaknesses or deficiencies in the current year audit. Any questions related to that letter? Okay. Let Amanda close us out. Okay, well, again, we appreciate the opportunity to perform the audit and for all of the cooperation and assistance that we receive from Bruce, Roger, Vicki, their teams, really all the city personnel that we work with. So I'm happy to field any questions that you may have about the audit reports or just any questions about the audit in general. Questions? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time.
Council, if I may, as I mentioned earlier, we'll collect this report back and have a page updated, and we'll get that to you by the end of the week.
Right. Next order of business, the approval of minutes from January 11, 2020, regular session meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Hay.
Yes.
Shivers.
Yes.
Briggs.
Yes.
Okay, at this time, we will move to a public hearing. Open our public hearing. Mr. Bruce Slagle.
Motion. I move we open the public hearing.
Second.
Miller.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Hay.
Yes.
Shivers.
Yes.
Briggs.
Yes.
Mr. Slagle?
Yes, Your Honor, the city did receive a community development block grant in connection with the Plant Science Center, and we are now in the process of time to close out. And Rita Jackson will cover the details of the public hearing for the closeout, and then I think Russell has a few comments as well.
This public hearing is to discuss the past performance by the city in carrying out the city's 2009 ED02 Community Development Block Grant Project, an infrastructure grant in the amount of $1,050,000. The grant was awarded to the city in March of 2010 to provide water, sanitary sewer, and street to the Plant Science Center with the national objective of job creation. Infrastructure constructed to serve the Plant Science Center included 3,054 linear feet of 24 feet wide street with shoulders, 530 linear feet of 27 feet wide street with curb and gutter, drainage improvement, 1,910 linear feet of gravity sanitary sewer, 2,200 linear feet of force main, a sanitary sewer lift station, and 3,740 linear feet of water distribution main being adequate for usage and fire flow. Soy Labs LLC, the company that occupied the Plant Science Center, failed to meet their job creation commitment of 50 jobs. Soy Labs ceased operation in February 2014. The Department of Housing and Urban Development will close and classify this grant as a failed project. This failed project classification will not jeopardize the city's eligibility with the CDBG program. Staff recommends that council proceed with the advertised public hearing.
Yes, most of you are familiar with Soy Labs, the first tenant that we had at the Plant Science Center. Facility is meant to take soybeans, turn it into meal, do different things with it. What their intent was to do, they had a patent on a product, and they had never got the facility up to the production levels that they needed to. Then they sold the patent that they had and moved operations out. We had a second tenant come in, do something completely different. That didn't work. We cleaned the facility, and the current tenant that's in there is Tiger Soy, which is a subsidiary of Seymour Milling, which also has a operation to do make flake with corn at their facility down in southeast Missouri. They take those two, combine them, and then they sell them as through government contracts. They currently have 8 employees at the facility, have done several $1 million worth of improvements at the operation, and are a very good tenant. We're very pleased to have them in the community and be a part of it. Any questions on this? It's unfortunate, but these things happen.
So from the state's point of view, they consider this as a failed project because the first tenant didn't make it. But since then, of course, we've had other tenants, and we still have the facility, and the facility's operational. So we don't necessarily consider it failed, but that's what we have to classify it to close out the paperwork. So
We've got most of this paperwork completed years ago to shut it down, but the state wanted us to leave it open, and they finally said, go ahead and do the public hearing to do so.
Just curious, how many employees does Tiger Soy have?
They have 8 at the time.
8?
8 right now, yeah. And they are running 2 shifts. They plan on running 3. So they're very pleased with the facility.
I appreciate the fact Tiger Soy is there and we have somebody there. You know, I hate to say that it was a failed project, but I'm just going to say it was just, I came in when I was first elected right after this went through, and I didn't see it from the word go because a third of the partner had their own facility. I mean, when you're partnering with MU and they have their own facility 25 miles away, where are you going to go? Here or there? So I hate it for our city. I hate that we have to put it on the record that we failed at something, but it is what it is.
Ready to close the hearing?
public comment.
Oh, public comment.
Allow the public.
Is any public comment?
If not, I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Miller,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Hay,
Yes.
Shivers,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
All right. Moving to resolutions, reading by title only and passage. Bill number 2021-02, a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign an amendment to contract documents with Kim Hoskins Environmental Consultant LLC, doing business as Kim Heck for pre-treatment program assistance. Mr. Slayton.
Yes, Your Honor, we do have Kim Heck, pre-treatment program, doing some work for us as pre-treatment coordinator because we have an individual on military duty. But we have some additional testing requirements that we need to do and prepare for a new permit. And so to cover the addition to the contract, Kenzie Russell.
Council may recall that we did put in place back in the fall a contract with Kim HEC to help us with our pretreatment program. The pretreatment program is part of the permit requirements for our wastewater operating permit. And it essentially requires certain industries to pre-treat their sanitary waste before it's discharged to our facility in order to keep our facility from having some sort of an upset that would then affect the discharge to the waters of the state. And so this contract adds to this amendment adds to the scope of the original work, the original assistance. And in your packet, there is a detailed scope that you can see, and the red items are the additional items, which essentially we have 2 permits that are due for renewal. Actually, Teva will not be a renewal, but it'll be a closure. And then the ADM permit is renewed, and Arch Industries no longer discharges to us, but because they are a significant industry, we need to issue a zero discharge permit for that. And then our wastewater operating permit will expire in December of this year. We are required to apply for renewal 6 months ahead of that, so the renewal will need to be sent in to DNR in June, and it requires some additional detailed testing of our wastewater and a allocation of load limits to industries and to the domestic flow or the residential flow. All of this gets fairly technical, and Kim Hoskins is a niche environmental consultant. This is all that she does, and so we're asking to amend her contract to add these additional services to it so that we can maintain deadlines and good standing with our wastewater permits.
Is this the contract we approved of like per hour or per job with her, or is this separate? I thought, did we sign with her? Is that?
This has a scope. She charges on an hourly basis with a not to exceed ceiling.
Yeah, and we did it, like we pushed or had an agreement with her or with them prior to this, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. This is an amendment to that agreement.
Yeah.
They add more services to it.
Yeah.
So is this something that you expected, or?
Some of this was expected and some was not expected. A number of these elements or scope came up out of conversations with DNR as we opened those discussions about permit renewal and the necessary testing. We have to do what's called an expanded effluent testing, and we have to do that 3 times before June in order to get the data that's necessary. We have been doing what's called the pollutants of concern, the POC testing. We were under the impression that that would be sufficient. It turns out that additional elements have to be tested for an expanded effluent test.
It still looks like it all falls under your budget.
It will fall within the line item budget for professional services that we have approved in the budget, yes.
I move for reading title only, bill number 2021-02.
Second.
Miller?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Hay?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Bill number 2021-02, a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign an amendment to contract documents with Kim Hoskins, Environmental Consultant, LLC, DBA, Kimhec for pretreatment program assistance. I move for passage of bill number 2021-02.
Second.
Miller?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Hay?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Okay, bill number 2021-03, a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign an agreement with Plan B Development for the city's on-call maintenance services. Mr. Slater?
Yes, Your Honor, the city has maintained a contract with a local contractor, provide us generally maintenance services, various services. and it was time to renew the contract. And so time to request proposals and bids, and we've done that. And to cover the details and the recommendation, once again, Kenzie Russell.
As Bruce mentioned, we've maintained a contract now for at least 12 years that I've been here with a local contractor. It's not always been the same contractor, but this has provided additional service for us, primarily in our sanitary sewer repair programs, digging up and making spot repairs, but also has helped with trucking snow off the square and other kinds of things, some concrete patching and all from time to time. We did advertise. We got six, I can't even count. We got 3 bids from contractors. Plan B Development of Mexico is the contractor we're recommending. This is a local contractor. He can respond as required. His costs per hour are not necessarily the lowest costs for labor, but they are the lowest for equipment. So depending on the kind of work done, if you set up a hypothetical project, either Plan B or S&A equipment of Fulton would be the low bid. S&A's response time, however, is 24 hours, and we felt that response time needed to be quicker in emergencies, and for projects that are a little larger and more expensive, the local contract, the 10% preference, local preference, makes Plan B the lowest cost. Plan B has been our contractor for the last 3 years. They have performed well. We've been pleased with the response and performance. We do spend roughly $70,000 a year on these services each year. And so we are recommending that we take Plan B as our on-call contractor for the next year, with the option to renew that 2 times in addition, assuming performance remains satisfactory. Questions?
I don't have any questions. I don't have a comment. I agree with you 100%. The response time is critical, especially with something with the water main. I mean, it's crazy. Like 24 hours, what? I mean, that being said, unless I have any objections, I move for first reading of bill number 2021-03 by title only.
Miller?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Hay?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Bill number 2021-03, a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign an agreement with Plan B Development for the city's on-call maintenance services. I move for passage of bill 2021-03.
Second.
Miller?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Hay?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Briggs?
Okay. On to ordinances, 2 readings by title only and passage. Bill number 2020-104, an ordinance approving a revision to the 2020-2021 operating budget. Mr. Slagle.
Yes, Your Honor. We originally put this ordinance together in anticipation that we would need to have some additional funds to make the bond payments at the MAB NID. And since then, we have reviewed the numbers more closely. We feel everything we can control within the current budget. And so at this time, we recommend not taking any action at this time on this. And if we get down the road within this budget year and it changes, we'll bring it back. But right now, we feel we can remain in budget, and so we don't need to proceed at this time.
Awesome. Okay, at this time, claims.
I make a motion to pay the bills?
Second.
Miller?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Hay?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Briggs?
Okay, moving to council comments, starting with Councilperson Member Hague.
Nothing too exciting, other than get to go back to Chiefs, so excited about that. But I'll keep it short so Councilman Miller can have something to say at the end.
First of all, I'm going to say thank you and congratulations to Roger and your staff for the award. And I know you guys put a lot of hard work, and out in the community, I always say, hey, when it comes to the finances, I'm 110% confident. I appreciate all you guys do. It's never been a question for me. In some communities, it's like, where's the money? Or I've never had any doubt. So I appreciate your hard work. I do. And as far as so thanks for that. And then Noble Health, it was nice for them to be here. Maybe when they get a little bit closer, we can have them back to answer some questions, because I think, or what's their plan? I appreciate the fact they want to bring babies back, but are we going to staff the hospital 24 hours now? Because my son had an injury and had to have emergency surgery the last 2 weeks, and they don't even have x-rays or anything at night. So, I'd like to know, we can have that conversation. So when they get closer, maybe we can have them come talk to
They're
us.
having something on the February.
Yeah, they're having a couple of town hall meetings to discuss some of those things. They have been a bit hampered of what they could say in some ways now. Now that they've got the exclusive agreement, they're digging into things a lot more, and they'll be able to tell you a lot more in the next couple months, I think.
Good. That's it.
I kind of go along with him. I'd like to hear more too. And so just keep us posted on when those town halls are. And nothing, we're all kind of anxious about getting this, at least being, about getting the vaccine now. So kind of putting our names on the list and hoping that will all take place quickly.
They all said it all, but
I'm looking for something profound from you.
Next time, we're all passive.
Look, I'm going to start with next week.
Well,
Next time, 2
the
weeks.
hospital's a big deal. It's great for Mexico. I was worried that something wasn't going to happen, but it has, so you got to be good with that. About the COVID shots maybe coming up here real quick, that we signed the agreement on today with Mexico with Public Health. That's a good deal. And then how about the Bulldog, everybody? Matt, you didn't cheer loud enough last time. It was your fault.
That's right. They lost the game, didn't
They
they?
lost the game. But they're on television tonight at 10:30 on Channel 8. What is that called? Sports Extra or something? 10:30, so might be worth watching to see Mexico on TV.
All right.
And maybe the Chiefs winning is kind of a good omen for all of us, just to be positive about things.
Mr. Slater?
I have nothing else this time, Your Honor.
I think everybody's pretty much said it. I'm excited to hear about Noble Health coming, and I'm glad that they came out tonight. I was really glad to see the email, like you said, with the agreement with Audrain County Health, and seeing that the vaccine will be available in a pretty quick time, and that we'll be able to, do what we need to do to make it happen efficiently. So that says a lot about our community and us working together. Does everyone keep staying safe and doing what we need to do to keep our businesses open and everyone as safe as can be. So at this time, we have public comments. Please state your name and address for the record and keep comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Are there any? Seeing there is none, can I get a motion to move into executive?
I move we adjourn into executive session pursuant to revised statute of Missouri 610-021, litigation.
Second.
Miller,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
Shivers.
Yes.
Briggs.
Yes.